Hello, thank you for watching. If you've seen my videos in the past, you know I've done videos on the book of Revelation. Chapter 1, Chapter 7, Chapter 12, Chapter 15, and Chapter 19. All showing different things in the book of Revelation in the heavens. Well, as I was doing that study, I found a lot of things interesting with the constellation Virgo. And what I found was pretty amazing that I wanted to do a video on it in itself and some of the different things that are surrounding Virgo. And it has to do with some of these blood moons coming up in 2014 and 2015. So what this is a study of is it shows pretty much three things. As you know, with chapter 12 in the book of Revelation, I believe this shows a mid-tribulation event. I believe that the book of Revelation is written in a chronological order. However, I'm not sold on that idea. I do think that some chapters happen simultaneously. However, the dates of what I find seem to further reinforce the fact that it's written in some sort of chronological order. God is outside of time, and I believe the book is also kind of outside of time as well. But there are some key dates, and it does show in my videos on those chapters, it does show a chronological time frame. So chapter 12 in the book of Revelation, I believe, does show a mid-tribulation time. There's also something surrounding the first blood moon in 2014 on April 15th that alludes to some sort of war, and I'll show that. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Psalms 83 war, but that's what I talk about in this video when I bring up this sign, and you'll see it. Additionally, in 2011, which I did a study on 2011, both in the heavens and what happened on Earth. And I believe November 11th, 2011 shows something very significant. And I will probably cover this in this part right here in a part 2, just because it goes so in depth, and I like to keep the videos fairly short because if people see it's an hour plus long video, they tend not to watch. So I'm going to make a part 2 with this portion right here. Everything else will be part 1. So let's start with our mid-tribulation sign and what's going on. So this is what I believe to be a mid-tribulation event. On 2017, September 23rd, on the feast day of Rosh Hashanah, and as all my signs are in the book of Revelation are on Jewish feast days, this appears in the heavens. And I'm going to go ahead and read the verse in Revelation and point this out. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there's a second part to this, and it says, there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. What you have to understand is the video that I did specifically on this sign right here is about 2 hours long. And it goes into the dragon, and it goes into how they're tied together and what actually is going on. I'm not going to get into all that in this video. What I just simply want you to understand is this is a sign in heaven, and this happens to be the chapter 12 sign. Now, I suggest if you haven't to watch the other video, at least the Revelation 12 video, to get an idea of what we're going to be talking about here. And here it is actually on the program, so I can zoom in and out, and I can actually add the constellations just so you can see that this is actually happening. Okay, so, and there appeared a woman clothed with the sun, so the sun is behind her, the moon is at her feet, she has a child being pained to be delivered. Jupiter is always represented as Jesus in the constellations from my studies that I've seen. And upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Well, Leo has 9 stars. Some people like to add stars to it, but it officially has 9 stars, and you can look that up on Wikipedia or any type of astrology website. 3 stars have moved in to give her the crown of 12 stars. Also, um, this is called the seed of the woman, and I'm gonna explain her in a little bit. But this is the first constellation in the zodiac. Leo happens to be the last constellation. Jesus was born of a virgin. He returns at the end of the age as lion, as the lion of the tribe Judah, and you get Leo. In Revelation chapter 1, Jesus says, "Fear not, for I am the first and the last." And this happens to be the first. This happens to be the last. Pretty amazing. So I use Bullinger's book for most of my astronomy studies, and pull information from his book. Um, there are others out there, but this gives the more biblical reference of what's actually in the heavens. I don't want some sort of pagan influence on what I'm trying to communicate, because God put these stars in position, not Satan, not anybody else, and they were made for his purpose, and his purpose is to warn us of what is coming and to show us signs. And it says in the Bible there will be signs in the heavens. It says it in Matthew, it says it in Job, it says it in Genesis, it says it in the Psalms. And if you want, you can Google those chapters and find the answers yourself. But these are placed for us to warn us of what is to come. Anyway, so this is Virgo, and she is the promised seed of the woman. And in Genesis it says, in Genesis 3, chapter 15, spoken to the serpent, this is God speaking, "And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thy seed shall bruise his heel." In other words, this is a prophetic announcement in Revelation in the heavens. What God is saying here is, I will send a Redeemer to make this better. The sin actually at this point has just occurred in the garden, and he is going to send a Redeemer. He is telling Satan, I am going to send a Redeemer. You will hurt him. You are going to bruise his heel. However, he is going to crush your head. All right, bruise thy head. My Bible says crush your head. And so he's going to suffer a small blow from Satan, but in the end, it's going to be all over, and Satan's going to be crushed. Also, I didn't have it in this video, but Scorpio is depicted as Satan in the zodiac, because a scorpion can bruise your heel. However, it is easy to crush under your foot, as long as you're careful. All right. So this is the woman, and she is representing the virgin. In her hand, she has the branch, which Jesus is the branch, and she has the wheat, which is the seed. Um, and she represents the coming Messiah. She also represents Israel, all right, the seed of Abraham, the line of David, okay, and further, she is to be the virgin, to be a virgin. So this is important, because not only when we see our sign and you see the war going on inside her, you will know that it's a war against Israel, not necessarily some virgin, some random person, or some constellation. This gives it validity. All right, so it says here she is represented as only a woman, but in later prophecies her nationality is defined as being of the stock of Israel. All right, and then there's just some other important things underneath here that you can look up at your own. I don't want to spend too much time. You can freeze frame this video and read this stuff for yourself. But here in the prophecy, so we have the first sign, like I told you, and Leo is the last sign. Coma is one of her deacons, and that represents the child. And some of the star names actually signify, give this actually even more validity to it. So, like especially down here where there are 20 words translated for the branch, but only one of them is used exclusively for the Messiah, and that is Teshmesh, and this is used only 4 times. All right, and that is one of the stars called the branch. So you can read the rest of this for yourself, but it goes on to give all the meanings of everything, and this is all a historical book, and you can read this and judge it for yourself. Now, what we're going to get into is this sign back here. We have 2017, September 23rd as our date. Now, if this is a mid-tribulation sign, like I believe it is, then where does that put us? Well, you go to timeanddate.com and you can figure this out. So I put the day and the month, 2017, and I subtracted 1290, which is the number in the book of Daniel where it talks about the 7 years. It talks about, and let me actually read it. So in Daniel 9:27 it says, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week." Now, stop right there, because a covenant with many is not just a covenant with Israel. A lot of people like to say that he will make a covenant with Israel. It's not just going to be just Israel. The Bible says with many. So my thought is it's going to be the surrounding nations that possibly attack Israel. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Just put that in your mind that it says a covenant with many. And I believe many nations are going to attack Israel on a certain day. And that day being the Psalms 83. So just keep that in mind. And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of that week he shall cause the sacrifice and the obligation to cease. And for the overspreading of the abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation and that determined shall be poured out upon the desolate. What this says is he's going to make a peace plan with many. All right, the Antichrist. There will be a war at some point. And during that war, or after that war, there will be some sort of peace agreement with many. And this is the Antichrist that they're talking about. He's going to make some sort of covenant with many, some sort of peace plan. And then in the midst of that week, and the week actually means 7 years. 1 week equals 7 years in the Bible. And it says in the midst of that week, all right, he will cause the sacrifice and obligation to cease. What he's going to do, and he's going to make the overspreading of the abominations, he shall make it desolate. So he's going to do something in the temple to cause desolation. In other words, he's going to do something so horrible that the Jews are going to understand that this guy is not who he says he is, and people are going to run everywhere. So if you go back to Revelation 12, it says that the woman will take flight during this time, and the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by God, and that they should feed her there for 1,260 days. So it's 1260, not 1290 in that case. All right, this is on the back side. So it's 1290 on the front side, 1260 on the back side, as I see it. And if I'm wrong, please let me know. But so in the midst of that time frame, right here, she is going to leave Jerusalem. And it goes on in other verses to, Jesus says, don't go in for the house, don't go get your coat, don't go get your food. And he talks about that in Matthew 24. You can read that on your own. But basically, when the abomination that causes desolation, the sacrifice to cease, and you recognize this, do not go back. Leave the area immediately. And there's going to be a large earthquake at that point as well in Jerusalem. So just something to think about. But anyway, this gives us an interesting date, March 13th, 2014. Pretty much 1 month later is our first blood moon in the Tetrad series of 2014 and 15. So let's go there. So if you don't know about the blood moon tetrads, this is there's a total of 8 of them in the year history from basically when the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. Our first one comes in around, I believe it's 162. And these all land on Jewish feast days. Each one of these represents a little moon. So there's 4 moons, 4 moons, 4 moons. And these full lunar eclipses land exactly on Jewish feast days. This is a chart from Lou Vega, who I have permission to use it from. So I just want to put that out. Right here's it's real interesting. First off, you have several 1948 references. You got 1948, you got 1948. Between here and there's 1948. So all this was when when Israel became a nation. And Tetrad 6 is when the Jews moved back to Israel and got their land. You got the Balfour Declaration, and they in 1948, I believe, and they ended up moving back to Israel. And Tetrad 7 is when they had the Six-Day War and they captured Jerusalem and obtained their capital. And speculation is that on this 8th Tetrad here is when they will obtain the temple. They don't have the temple at this point. They've been wanting it. And if you've read the news recently, they've discovered a lot of artifacts. Like they believe they found the temple, parts of the temple that were out and with Moses. They believe they found part of King David's court. They have a 1.5 ton menorah, gold menorah, ready to go. So there's just a lot of stuff going on right now for them to build that temple. And right now they have everything planned so well that if they said to build that temple, they could build it in a matter of like a few months or a month. It's something totally ridiculous. Like everything's ready to go. It's totally prepared. So that's 2014 and 15, which is coming up. Now, just because it's 2014 and 15, don't think that the rapture will not happen prior, till 2014, 15. Just keep that in mind. We further break this down, and this is going to be the first blood moon of that year, that tetrad. Don't worry about all the math and everything going on with this chart. You just need to focus on 2014, April 15th is the first blood moon. And what you're going to see in the actual stars in Virgo is pretty amazing on that first blood moon. So here's our first blood moon right here. And it happens right in the womb of Virgo. Not only that, but we have Mars inside of Virgo. So we have war inside of Jerusalem. And this cannot mean anything good. So if you remember where Jupiter was, let's go back there real quick. Right here, the king, Jesus, you have the blood moon right there as well. And let's go to the program. Okay, so here's our lunar eclipse right here. You can see it. We'll zoom in. And actually, it's a full lunar eclipse. And turn it this way. And when it crosses her waist here is when it turns to blood. So it's here. Then as it moves through, bam, right there it turns to blood. As soon as it gets in her womb there, I mean, it's like that line actually, I can't see the line there. It's actually that line is almost making it blood going through. So full lunar eclipse right through there, right in the womb of Virgo. Now some people will say, well, that's not her womb, that's over on her hip, well, or it's, her womb's over here, how could it be down here? You gotta look at the artwork here. It's between her legs. It was the same place as Jupiter, and makes perfect sense that that's where it is, the way the ecliptic is. And Mars is definitely inside her body. So this is Israel, folks. This is Israel right now. And this is war for Israel, April 15th, 2014. Incidentally, the church is represented as Gemini, the marriage. And Gemini means partnership or completed. And you can look that up. And one thing I always like to do is when I see an eclipse is like, what else is going on in the solar system? And you have Saturn, which is usually depicted by Satan over here, and in the vicinity of Libra, and Scorpius, which we talked about, is Satan himself. And you'll see that in my other videos very clearly, as well as Gemini. I have Gemini in other videos, but right now, according to this timeline, if this is true, which I really believe it is, then Jesus is with his church, with his bride. This constitutes the marriage between Jesus and his bride, the church. and he is inside his bride, and they are in heaven. Um, that's pretty much what I see happening. So here's our tetrad right here, and I just put it on against the calendar so you could see it. But here's our 15 April 2014. Here's our 15 April 2014. Now there is an annular solar eclipse, pretty much a week and a half after that. That happens in Aries. I didn't see a lot. That doesn't mean anything, but I just didn't see too much there. It's just a solar eclipse happened, and we can pull it up real quick. 29 April 2014. Let's just now you could say it happens right in the leg of the lamb or the goat, but I've seen signs where he actually crosses the threshold, or it's right underneath the star, and it happens. So, um, I've looked. I didn't see a lot. You can still see, Christ and the church together, but um, there wasn't a whole else going on. Mars has moved out, but that doesn't mean anything that the war's over or anything like that. I mean, I think it's just, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe the war is over at that point. It could be nuclear. Israel does not have the means to fight a long war. They don't have the resources to do it. If you know anything about war, they would have to strike hard and fast. They would not have any way to fight in a war of attrition, like say the United States or Russia or China would be able to. They would end up fighting a war of, quick, fast, and powerful. Would be the only way they could. Um, but there's something here. I'm not sure exactly what I'm seeing, but if anyone has any ideas, please let me know. This is going to end part one because I have to keep it under 20 minutes or so, and for Facebook. So thanks a lot for watching. Praise the Lord, and reach out to Jesus today. Time is getting very short. Thank you very much.